on this one, this should be 150 to 170 words long, not 100. I will fix that. I apologize. So the evaluation is 100 to 120 words long. It is the bulk of your citation, obviously, right? And again, because of what you've got to do in it, you should be able to get that easily. When I was doing all three of these bibs, my first draft of most of them was anywhere from 160 to 180 words. So I had no problem just by making sure I had each thing identified, getting that word count, right? Okay, so you are going to, first of all, give us a transition from the summary to the evaluation that lets us readers know that you're now in the evaluative mode, right? You're going to give a clear statement about what the CRAP test criteria in the article passes, right? And those two things are probably going to be together, right? So these two things can be one sentence, right? And then, so notice I don't say a sentence, I just say a transition. And a transition could be a sentence, but it might just be a word or a phrase. So then after that, you're going to have a sentence that explains how it passes the first criteria with a brief reference to an example from the article that proves it. You're going to repeat that for the next two sentences, only you're going to use a different point from the CRAP test. And then a final sentence that states how strong the article's credibility is in an academic paper. So how useful will this be in supporting whatever it is you're researching, right? Now, since the assignment, if you were writing this whole essay, which you're not, you have to have a counterclaim. So remember you had that on the proposal, that one question, I think it was question 6, was what is the counterclaim? When we address counterclaims, sometimes we might bring into that paragraph statements that other people have made to support their position that we are then going to show why it isn't logical or something. So in an annotated bib, you might have a source that actually does not have credibility, but you're going to use it in the counterclaim as an example of why this research is false, right? So you can have one article from your 5 that does not meet the CRAP test, as long as you then say, it's not credible, right? So again, you're going to be doing everything is the same here, except that you're going to be showing why it doesn't pass 3 of the 5 criteria, right? And then a final sentence states how this lack of credibility will help you counter an argument made by people, all right? And so the examples that I gave, this Raghunathan is my counterclaim article, right? This is not a logic. And so you'll see, if we look at the evaluation part, you're going to see that. So here's where the conclusion is, right? So now my transition, applying the CRAP test to Raghunathan's argument shows the flaws that it makes that make it suitable only as rebuttal evidence for the counterclaim. So I've basically told you right off the bat that this is for the counterclaim. So now 3 sentences that show how it doesn't make those criteria. First, this fails the authority test since Raghunathan's bio reveals that he's a comedian with no relevant credentials. That's all I need to say there, right? I mean, it's very simple. He has no credentials in zoology or anthropology or anything. He's a comedian, right? Second, the article lacks accuracy since his evidence often is true only in the particular but not in the general, such as zoos painting horses to look like zebras, which happened only once and is not a systemic problem. So here's my I now tell you what criteria it is: accuracy. I've told you, did he pass it? No, it's only true in this particular. And then I've given you a reference to something that he uses in the article that is my example of why it doesn't pass this, right? Third, his many statements lack relevancy. So there's the criterion, right? Such as references to eating animals and buying pets, right? So there is evidence, what I'm pointing to base my evaluation of whether it's credible or not. I'm just, you're not really in-depth explaining it. You're just saying, here's an example of one thing that shows why it's not relevant. And then my last sentence, overall, Raghunathan's article fails too many credibility criteria for it to be useful as anything other than counterclaim, all right? So that's if you're doing any of the one, and again, you don't have to use a counterclaim. You can do all 5 credible sources. But if you do have one, that's how you do that. But all the rest of them are going to follow this method, right? So here's her conclusion statement. So now here is my transition. This article's credibility is moderate. So that tells you then all of a sudden that I'm now evaluating, right? First, Ward has credentials to speak on zoos. She is university professor in zoo animal biology. In terms of relevance, the article references several recent events that have stirred the conservation about zoos, such as the shooting of a gorilla when a child fell into its pen, juxtaposed with the statistic about gorilla extinction. So there I'm referring to, notice I'm not quoting, I'm just referring to what she's saying, I'm summarizing. Her reporting also seems accurate, and she links to studies that verify her data. So that's why I'm saying it's accurate. She's linked to studies, right? I don't have to list the studies. I'm just saying, yeah, that's why I'm saying that. Here's the wrap up. However, the research-based evidence here is a bit incomplete, so this article does not provide much in-depth discussion of the issue. So it's moderate. I can find things to help, but it's not going to be enough by itself, right? So that's what you're doing. So here is the other example. Again, I've got my topic my MLA citation. Dr. Torrance argues that students should study the humanities to be well-rounded and enlightened citizens, no matter their discipline or type of college. So here, this person smushed it into, put the first two things into one sentence, right? And that's fine. If you've got, if the argument is so tight that you could put both the thesis and the supporting points in one sentence, that's okay. He comes to this conclusion based on research by Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and the Pew Trust about the need for creativity and compassion in society in diverse areas. So that's the conclusion, right? So he uses authority based on his own experiences as a research scientist in the field, right? Most of the data is accurate since it comes from highly respected scientific agencies and organizations. The purpose is to argue that a lack of creativity and compassion can create harm between people's different backgrounds of experiences, and that the future of the job market in America is at risk. Overall, he grounds his appeals in solid facts and information. However, since he does not provide hard numbers to support just how big the effect is to the job market, the lack of creativity and compassion could be, this article does have some mild problems with accuracy, right? So again, this tweaks it a little bit. Again, they take those first two required sentences of the summary and they put it into one sentence. That's totally fine, right? As long as you're getting it all done and you're not overlooking important points, right? Most of the time, you're not going to be able to stick them all in one sentence easily, right? And then we can see authority, accuracy, purpose. Those are the three criteria of the CRAP test, right? Okay, the last step, let me go back up here, or the next step is presentation, right? So after each annotation, you need to go through the final steps to ensure presentation meets academic standards and assignment requirements. So have you used standard academic English for all annotation, right? You got to write in complete sentence. You have to use appropriate diction for a college level paper, right? Check that each annotation is formatted in proper MLA style. That includes spacing and indenting. So again, you can see here's the little sample, right? It's got that hanging indent, right? And it's double spaced. You're also going to alphabetize all of your entries because you got that works cited entry. So you're going to alphabetize them as you would a works cited paper, right? And check that the rest of the paper uses proper MLA format, right? So you can see here, you got your regular MLA heading, you've got your title, you got your page numbers. And then finally, make sure that you submit it PDF, DOCX, or RTF document, upload it to the Annotated Bibliography folder by the due date. All right. So that's the Annotated Bibliography. You should, again, already have a lot of the work done because you've already got 3 of your articles. You have the works cited entries done for those 3, and I asked you to have the summaries done by the time you came back from Thanksgiving. So you're just now doing the evaluations, and then you got the other 2 that you have to add to that. So this is totally doable in 1 week since you've already been researching, and you should already probably have more than 5 articles in total because you picked 3 to put on the research proposal, but that means you had to look for more. So again, you shouldn't necessarily have to go out and find a whole lot more stuff. You've got it. Now you're just focusing on what is it saying and does it meet those tests, right? So again, you can see you've got this handout, which is the actual test. And then it gives you some questions that you can answer to look for, is it current, is it relevant, does it have authority, and all those things. I've also given you this worksheet that you can actually, if you like those kind of things, it can actually help you, you fill one of these out for each one of those. So it just basically takes all of those questions and allows you to actually fill it out for each source. And then this is a rubric this is just another way that you can assess it. This is just one page. And so you can say, does it have all these things? So again, if you really like a graphic organizer that will help you evaluate, kind of check off the box, then that's what those are for. But you might be able just to use the big list. Okay. All right. So good luck. If you have questions, please email me. Stop by the office if you want to meet face to face. I have office hours that are online in the afternoon, so we could actually do a Zoom meeting if you wanted to do that, or just email me, as obvious. So bye-bye. Good luck.